Hello world of YouTube! I'm actually sitting down and doing this discography review for Linkin Park. Now, if you have never listened to Linkin Park, I don't blame you. They get a lot of flack from both of their styles. You have the old style of Linkin Park, which was rooted to the nu metal sound that was popular in the early 2000s when they formed as a band. You had Mike's rappiness with Chester's metal heaviness with the guitars and the angsty vocal, or the angsty lyrics aimed towards the introvert. And it was very, very good, typical nu metal. And I don't understand why they got a lot of flack for this. However, I understand why the new Linkin Park sound gets a lot of flack from the older fans. Because they kind of just abandoned that old sound altogether, or at least they did now, on their third album, which I will talk about. There's a bit of a mixture, and that's my least favorite album for that reason. But their new sound is kind of an alternative rock band that has some roots in hip-hop and some roots in techno, which sounds interesting, and they do it fairly well. Now, they have 4 albums, and a remix album, and an EP with Jay-Z. That's not much, so I'll get through this as fast as I can. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Let's get started. Now, the first album they released is called Hybrid Theory, and that was released back in 2000. And this album is a typical first album in the fact that it's very raw. It's their most raw, it has the most distorted guitars in it, and it has some of the most intense moments in Linkin Park's songiness. Now, the song is interesting in the fact that it's also very melodic in its style. I mean, you have songs like Paper Cut, which have just that very chill, dark vibe, along with, in the end, you know, Points of Authority is kind of a chill song. And then you have songs like By Myself, which have an intense chorus, and A Place for My Head, which has a very, very intense bridge. And this song is just very typical nu metal, and I love that because nu metal is a very, very big genre to me, and they do it well, because there are a lot of bands that came out that were typical nu metal that did it badly. These guys did it very, very well. They weren't rooted too much to a typical sound. I mean, they had a little bit more hip-hop, but it's not to the point where they're oversaturated in a genre. Not saying that some metal bands that are oversaturated in a genre are bad, but they just sound very, very well with this style. This also has an instrumental, which didn't happen much in nu metal, but Cure for the Itch, which is a clever name, because it's for their DJ, and it's called Cure for the Itch. I thought it was clever. The vocal content is very nu metal, for the introvert, for the outcast in society, for the one that is just by themselves. You know, they want to be a part of the group, but they don't want to change. So, yeah. Not really a lot of complaints. I love this album. It's not my favorite, but it's probably my second favorite. I do love this album very much so, and it's just got very good moments of intensity and melody. It's one of my favorite albums of the 2000s. My favorite song is probably A Place for My Head. Just has a great formula to it. It's a very good formalistic song, and I dig it. Now, the next album they released was their remix album called Reanimation, which was released back in 2002, and this album really shows the polars of their sound, but it stays really rooted to the hip-hopness, and all of the tracks on it are remixes from Hybrid Theory. It even has the bonus tracks, My December and High Voltage. It's just very well done. They have a lot of guests on the album, spanning from Aaron Lewis from Stained and Jonathan Davis from Korn to rappers like Rasco and Cali Tuna, if I say that right. I love this album as a remix album because it's very different from the originals, and it does show where they come from as a band, because it shows some of their roots as a metal band. I mean, Jonathan Davis is on it along with Stained, and Jay Gordon's on here from Orgy, but it has a lot of the hip-hop in it, which I dig. I do like it when they do the hip-hop stuff. it sounds very good, and even when Chester's on the songs, it sounds fitting for them. I'm still not used to the style of the new Linkin Park. I do miss this style, the very hip-hop rooted with some techno beats. I mean, it doesn't have to be like West Coast big bass beats. They do the beats very well for this album, all of the people that do the meat. And yeah, it's just very, very well done. They even do a remix of Cure for the Itch, which I didn't think needed a remix, but they do. Han does a really good job with it. The guests don't seem too different from Linkin Park. Like, there's no big names. I mean, Jonathan Davis and Aaron Lewis are on here, but I mean, the rappers aren't too big to the point where it doesn't seem like they just kind of put them in there because we have rap in our group. Like, there's Snoop Dogg's not on here. All the rappers that are on here really fit their style very well, and the verses that they redid fit the songs very well. The content still stays towards the introvert while being more hip-hop for the introvert. And even Linkin Park themselves redid some vocals on this album, like Chester and Mike did, and they did a really good job. I commend this album for the fact that it's different, and it's very different. It's kind of a standalone release. My favorite remix on the album is the One Step Closer remix because I'm a huge Jonathan Davis fan, and what he adds to the song is just very good. It adds to the anger in the song. But yeah, that's my favorite out of like the heavy ones. Out of the hip-hop ones, is actually probably the Forgotten one because I like the way it fades out with this. The Place for My Head one is very good as well. Those two are probably my favorites out of the hip-hop remixes, but yeah. Solid stuff. I'd pick it up if you're a fan of remixes, or even if you're a fan of Linkin Park. Some Linkin Park fans kind of stray from this. I'd pick it up. It's a very, very solid release. Now, the second full album they released, but the third release by them was called Meteor, which was released back in 2003. And this is my favorite Linkin Park album, but the biggest complaint I have with it is that there's not enough balance between the two. Like, there's not enough Chester, Mike. It's just a lot of Chester and Mike. Like, the songs just were... one is missing from it. Like, Nobody's Listening has the balance, but there are songs like Breaking the Habit which don't have Mike. They just have Chester. And I kind of want both. I mean, this isn't anywhere near Minutes to Midnight, but that's the one element from this album that leads towards Minutes, and it doesn't even really lean toward it. It's just something they started to do. Now, this is my favorite Linkin Park album, and it has my favorite Linkin Park song on it, which is Breaking the Habit, even though Mike's not on it, and I love Mike. To compensate, I'm playing Nobody's Listening, because this is my favorite song with Mike on it. The guitars don't seem to be used as much on this album. Like, there's songs like Nobody's Listening where they're not used at all. And, it's interesting. They really kind of just switched off of that fairly quickly. It's not a bad thing. This is more towards the hip-hop roots, which I love. I love the hip-hop roots of Linkin Park so much. They just do a really good job with that, and it fascinates me. The lyrics still leaning towards that introvert with Nobody's Listening, you know, Somewhere I Belong, Numb, very, very pivotal point for songs about the introvert. I mean, this just... they don't get any more direct than with this album when it comes to lyrics about the introvert. I mean, it's weird because they do that lyrical content so well, but they don't really do it anymore, and it intrigues me. I wonder why they stopped writing for the introvert as much. Like I said before, favorite Linkin Park album. It opens very well with the forward leaning into Don't Stay. That is done very well. It has a good build-up for Don't Stay. The songs are a bit bigger. The choruses are bigger, like Faint is a bigger chorus. And I recommend this album to anybody, even if you're not a Linkin Park fan. This is a good base point for Linkin Park, because it has enough of that Hybrid Theory style to get you to go back to that. And, yeah. It shows you their hip-hop roots, which is something that people might miss with this band. Yes, favorite song is Breaking the Habit. And the first and only EP that was released to the public by them was the one they did with Jay-Z called Collision Course. And this was released back when mashups were really, really big. And what they did is, for those who don't know what mashups are, you take the beat of one song and the vocals with another song, and you mesh them together into a perfect union. Now, you can use the vocals from the original songs, like this, with Dirt Off Your Shoulders, but usually they switch it up like on this. Now it has the beat from Lying From You and the vocals from Dirt Off Your Shoulder. And, as I stated in the review I did today of Ham, I do like Jay-Z. I'm not a huge fan, but I do like his music. I like his delivery style, and I like the way he just composes himself as a musician. He just has that swagger to him that I dig. Some of his lyrical content is meh with me, but I dig him as a rapper. One of the songs on here that I find fairly interesting is Big Pimpin' and Paper Cut. It sounds weird. It doesn't really mesh well with me. It's just very, what? But the rest of them are very well composed. The biggest song on here was the Numb Encore mashup, which was very well done. My favorite one is actually the 99 Problems, One Step Closer, and Points of Authority. That's just a very, very good mashup. It's done very well, and 99 Problems is one of my favorite Jay-Z songs, so that's probably why. But there's not really much I could say. It's just very well done. The mashups are very well composed, and whatever either act added, they did a very good job. Like, Mike is on Hova now, or H to the Izzo, as some know that song, and he plays like the cop in the scene where Jay-Z gets pulled over in the song, and it's good. It keeps the song to its original form, and yeah, I dig it. If you like hip-hop, pick this up. You might not like it if you're just a Linkin Park fan, but I like it, but I like hip-hop, so what do you know? And the third album they released was called Minutes to Midnight, and that was released back in 2007, and this is my least favorite Linkin Park release, and the reason why that is because they wanted to change their sound, yet they still wanted to keep their fan base strong, which I don't think you should do. If you want to change, if you want to flip your script, flip it. Don't half-cock it, because that just doesn't sit well with me. And that leads to me liking only half of the album, because when I listen to this album, it starts off with one of those classic-sounding Linkin Park songs with the distorted guitar, except it lacks Mike, but it has Chester just screaming. The lyrics are more intense towards the introvert. They're more towards the, not the outcast, but the depressed outcast, like the emos, with songs like Giving Up, Bleed It Out, No More Sorrow, just all of these darker, brooding lyrics. And the one thing I really don't like about this album is the lack of Mike. The two songs that I can think of off the top of my head that have Mike are Hands Held High, which is my favorite out of the two, and Bleed It Out, which is a typical sounding Linkin Park song, and is Mike, Chester, Mike, Chester. The softer songs in the album I don't like as much as I do on the softer songs of A Thousand Suns, like Leave Out All the Rest. I don't really like Shadow of the Day. I really don't like. It just doesn't sit well with me. In fact, I only like this album up to No More Sorrow. I don't really like Valentine's Day In Between or the other couple of songs. The last four songs I just don't care about. But yeah, least favorite album for that reason. And my favorite song on the album, either No More Sorrow or Given Up, because Given Up has that really long note by Chester, which is impressive, but No More Sorrow is just a very well constructed, typical kind of newer typical Linkin Park song. And yeah, I dig that song, least favorite Linkin Park album. And this song, Hands Held High, is just very good. I love Mike's delivery on this song. And the latest album they released was called A Thousand Suns, which was released this year. And this album is interesting because it is the first Linkin Park release to not have an EP come in between, or some type of album come in between that remixed the songs. And I think that's because their newer sound does not call for remixes, which makes me sad face. I'm gonna sound weird when I say this, maybe, to some Linkin Park fans, but I love A Thousand Suns. And it's because of the fact that they stuck with just reinventing their sound. They pursued what they wanted to do and didn't try to just please their fans. And it's not like Metallica did with Load, but I will talk about Metallica in a discography review down the road. I love the way they changed the sound of the sound because it is still rooted to the hip-hop, it's just done in a different way, while having the soft songs like Burning in the Skies that are done very well. Mike sings very well on this album. I dig his singing voice. And this album will get them places, even more so. I don't like what Rick Rubin did on Minutes to Midnight, but I love what he did on on 1,000 Suns. Out of the two singles that came out before the album, Wretches and Kings and Catalyst being the first, I went into the Catalyst as an old Linkin Park fan, and after about a week or so, I came out of listening to the Catalyst multiple times, more of an appreciation for Linkin Park and an excitement for this new album. And that was mostly after Wretches and Kings, after hearing that they still do that older sound executed in a new way. They don't really do the distorted guitars the way they used to. They put it in a new light, and they don't have really any songs about the introvert in this album. It's more leaning towards the concept, which, if I'm correct, is about the downfall of humanity and the rise of the machines enslaving them. I could be wrong, but that is how I saw it after listening to the album multiple times. If someone actually knows the concept, feel free to put it in the comments below. I would love to hear it. For those of you who don't know, I actually do read the comments because it's what I like to do. I'm always excited when I get comments, but yeah, if you know, put it in the under thingy. But one complaint I do have about this album is that it takes forever to get into it. It has 2 intros, and then it gets Burning in the Skies, which is a beautiful song. Then they have another interlude, and then they have When They Come For Me, which is my favorite song on the album. There's just a lot of meandering in the beginning, and then they finally pick it up by about a quarter of the way through, which is not the way it should be done. I know it's to try to lead you into the concept, I guess, but I wish they would not do that. I wish they would just get it out there. Dream Theater doesn't seem to have a problem with doing concepts. I know this is their first, but come on. Come on, Linkin Park. Come on, get your album started. It did not make my top 20 of the year, but it made my top 30, definitely. It's a very solid album. I commend them for making it, and I am awaiting new releases with this Linkin Park. I've grown an appreciation for it, and my favorite song is When They Come For Me, because Mike's delivery is different when he raps, and Chester sounds different. It's a very well-done song with African beats. Yes, if you are an old Linkin Park fan, please give this a chance. They're not going back to the way they used to be. I've passed that, and if I can get past that, so can you. Actually, the day Brad get past that is a day that any Linkin Park fan can get past that, because he hates this album for the sole fact that it does not sound like old Linkin Park. And Brad, I know you're going to watch this. It bothers me. Give this album a chance, man. But yes, that is Linkin Park, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'm having problems speaking today. If you couldn't tell by all the videos that I'm uploading, I'm having problems speaking today. I don't know why, but hopefully this suited your needs for Linkin Park, and I will see you another day. You guys have good days, lives, and situations. I actually effed up my outro, too. Go figure.